Hey Rockstar, Steve aka Void here. Welcome to another episode of RIFFSTARTER, where I help you play your favorite riffs from day one by removing those annoying speed bumps and roadblocks that slow you down. All of the strategies and techniques from the show could be found in my best-selling book, Practice Less, Play More, which you can find at playsongsfaster.com. All right, welcome to today's episode. Today we're actually rocking the new Rockstar Mind neon tanks. I'm loving it. You can get that at the merch store at rockstarmindmerch.com, and I hope everyone's having a great day. You can, comment, let me know that you're there, say hi, and I always love hearing from you. Today's going to be a cool episode because today we're going to be covering this one. Man, my fingers are still a little bit sore from this. From you watching the intro, there's quite a bit of finger gymnastics going on inside this riff. And what is the riff? If you missed it, it is the Red Hot Chili Peppers' Under the Bridge. And Under the Bridge is it's arguably one of the most popular Chili Pepper songs, and definitely on guitar. It's one of those riffs that keep coming back. Like, no matter how old it is, because about 30 years old now, this riff rips. I mean, like, this is an awesome riff, but this is a riff that is pretty tricky to play. And if you look at it face value, and one of the issues that a lot of guitar players have is they try to play things face value right away. And what I mean by face value is they try to play it exactly like how it is on the record. Now, when you try to match your current skill level to the level of the record, there are a lot of things that can happen that can go wrong. You could either be stuck right at square one, you can be playing it, but it might be stop and go, or you can just, you just never ever get it sounding right. And so that process could take a long time, like we're talking weeks or months, or maybe you never even get to play this riff. But instead of trying to match your current skill level to the level of the riff, what we want to do is match the riff to your current skill level. That's how you play from day one. So this riff, if you caught the intro, if you didn't catch it, then you can watch it again, and I'll show you some of the things, some of the problems here. But it's very interesting because if you did see it, you're going to see like there's a moment in there where I tense up for a second, and it's this one little moment that is probably the trickiest thing. It's probably one of the trickiest things that I've played in a little while, and I'll show you. So let's go over to my screen, and I'll show you the section. So first of all, this riff, if you look at the tab, then you're gonna find, okay, so there's two notes here. There's a double stop over here. The first part is you have these two notes, okay? So you have these two notes. They're both D, okay? And then you're just playing this arpeggio here, and there's a little bit of a little scale run there, and then, okay, this is just a bunch of notes arpeggiated, but then here you have the double stop and a hammer-on right here. Double stop and hammer-on, and that's the moment, by the way, that is really tricky. And then you have this little part here, this hammer pull-off, and yeah, anyway, I'll show you what that looks like, but it's not really that enjoyable. It's not enjoyable to play, but also as you'll find out really soon, it's not realistic. And why is it not realistic? Well, it's because when we're listening to the record, when we're playing something like this, when we're going, this is all pretty good, but here where we have to go, we have to basically play this run, we go, and we have to get this big stretch here. And not only do we do the stretch between these two fingers here, but we have to hammer on. We have to hammer on with the pinky, and then we have to drop the ring finger down, and then put this index finger down. It's a mess. I'm surprised I pulled that off in the intro. Check it out, and you'll see that I kind of go like this a little bit because I'm like willing my way to getting that part down. Here's the interesting part, and before we get into simplifying this, the interesting part about this riff, number one, is if you listen to the track, these parts, if we have this, the double shot, and I'm gonna go in my guitar cam here. So if we have this double shot, that's fine because that's the beginning of the track. But if you listen to the track, you're gonna hear two guitars. There's gonna be one guitar part that's going like this, and then when it comes back around, or even it goes, it's one guitar that's doing that, and then the other one is doing this. It's doing it's doing these high notes on another guitar track. So on the tab, what it's trying to show you, when you load up this tab, it's trying to show you how to play kind of like both parts at once. And that's why it's tricky. And that's why what you got to be careful of is there are a lot of tabs that try to summarize the whole guitar part, like or the whole spectrum of guitars. Like if there's 2 tracks or however many, they try to summarize it into one guitar. And that's just a computer that's kind of spitting that out. Like it's probably a human being that's like typing this stuff in, but it's not necessarily possible to play that, or it's not necessarily that enjoyable to play it like that as one guitar. So, you know, you go in there, you're just, you know, innocently going in, and you're basically learning what's on the tab at face value, and it's flawed from the start. Here's how you really know that it's flawed from the start, is that before, to prep for this episode, I actually looked at a bunch of Red Hot Chili Peppers performances of this song. John Frusciante, I couldn't find one where he played like how I played in the intro, and what it showed on this tab over here. I'm pointing my screen right now. I couldn't find one. Why? Because nobody would play it like that live, unless you really want to prove something. You don't have to play it like this. Like even John Frusciante doesn't play it like that live. Why should you? It's because it's 2 guitar parts. So you don't have to do this crazy part. Like that stretch, when you feel that with the ring finger and middle finger, it's tough. It's tough. I'm surprised I pulled that off in the intro. So there's no point to do it. I just wanted to do it because on the intro, like I took a few takes, or it took me a few tries before to prep for this. It's like I had to really focus on that part, but you don't need to even do it, right? Frusciante doesn't even do it. It's a great riff and it's a great track, but Frusciante doesn't even play it like that. So why should you, right? So now let's get into some simplification. Because now that we know that already Frusciante modifies what he does on the record, he modifies it live, let's talk about how to play this riff. Because if you play it the way that it's shown on the tab, you're probably not going to play this riff in a short period of time, and I want you to play it today. So let's talk about that. How do we do it? So what we're going to do is we're going to try different things. There's the easiest thing that I've seen is use the capo on the 2nd fret. That's actually originally how I thought that it went. There was a capo on here where you do something like this. Here you could actually replicate both. Because it's just a C chord. Then E minor, or E major, sorry. Then here, when you do it like this, with the middle finger and the index finger, it's actually not a big deal. It's when you're in this caged sort of the C over here. Like this is the shape that Frusciante plays, but if you had to play it with the capo and you play it as a C chord and an E major chord, totally fine. Okay? Again, Frusciante plays it with this caged style. Okay? This is like a C chord over here with these fingers, and then this would be where the capo is. Okay? And then it would be this F sharp major chord. But anyway, you use a capo for sure. It might be a little bit hairy when you have to play the next part. It might be a little bit, there might be limiting when you have the capo there. But at the same time, you could also go 2, 3, 4. You take off the capo after the intro. You could do that, and I have seen that before, and I've done that before. So a capo is one thing that you can use, but also another thing that you can do is scrap the double stops. Like you don't have to play what's on the tab there. So let me show you. You don't have to play this note here, this 3rd fret, okay, and you don't have to play this 3rd fret here. Definitely, this one's the killer, so you don't have to play that. That's really it. Like you don't have to play those double stops. So that's the first thing there, okay? No double stops, so you can go like this. And you can actually build it as you go. Watch my fingers. I'll really exaggerate it here. See, I went hammer, I dropped the ring finger down, and then I dropped the index finger, and and then I have the middle finger, and I drop the pinky down. So it's like I'm building it as I go, almost like piano. And so that's another thing that you can do, is you can just scrap the double stops. You don't have to go. But what's interesting is Frusciante does play this double stop on the 5th string and the 2nd string. He does play that at the beginning. A lot of guitar players will do that because it's the first note. So I mean, it's the first shot. So you can just do it, set up for it, and boom, you're ready to go. But after that, you don't have to play those double stops. Okay, so that's another thing. And then another thing you could do, the last thing, is you don't have to do any scales. So you can go like this. As I'm talking about like your day one version. So you can go 3, 4, 3, 4. You can also scrap any frills. You don't have to go. As your first version, you can just keep it as the chords. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Now, you might think, like, why would I do that? That doesn't sound like Under the Bridge. I'm missing out on so many cool parts. Yeah, well, first play that one. First play that part, and then build on that. So what you can do is you can go 3, 4, 3, 4. Maybe go, then you add the hammer on. 3, 4. On the next version, which is that next version, that upgrade is going to be easier because now you have the foundation. And then after that, then you could do maybe this switch, that slide there. So you can go like 3, 4. Maybe you do the hammer on, and you do the switch, the slide. So you can keep upgrading. That's really the key here, is, again, instead of trying to match your current skill level to the level of the riff, start by matching the riff to your current skill level. That's how you play from day one. Then from there, you upgrade, upgrade, upgrade until it sounds like the record, or until you're satisfied. The wrong approach, in my opinion, well, not the wrong, but the very inefficient approach, the approach that's going to take a lot of time, way more time than you need to, is by trying to do exactly what's on the tab over and over and over and over again. It's just not worth it. So instead, you simplify it, and you start with a simple version, whether you use the capo, whether you remove the double stops, whether you take out the scales and just play those chords. You do that first, and then you have that version established. That's your play from day one version, and then you upgrade it a little bit, and then you upgrade that one, and you upgrade that one. The beauty of that is, while you're upgrading, while you're practicing that part, you have a part that you can play, a simple part that you can play along with the record, or you could perform live. Okay, that's the whole logic here. Play from day one is making sure that you have something that you can play right now, and you enjoy, you have fun with, and use as a foundation for every upgrade that comes next. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. And that's basically it. I mean, this riff is really cool, but it was very eye-opening, like an ear-opening, I guess, when I was listening to the record. And I was just like, what? Oh, no way. This whole time I thought that it was one guitar, and it was actually two guitars, and the tab is representing both guitars, and that's why it's so hard to play. So if you've tried this riff, I would reconsider how your approach. I mean, I would try the things that I mentioned today, and play the riff, and then, you know, if you want to, then you can incorporate the extra part in there. I'm not going to. I did this episode of Riff Starter here. I did the intro there. I played that part, but I never want to play that part again. All right. I never want to feel like I did that day, I guess, for a Red Hot Chili Peppers pun. But yeah, that little move there with the double stop, that's just, it's not fun. It's not fun. And I realized I don't even need to play it because Frusciante doesn't. So hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Let me know inside the comments if you enjoyed it, if you have any suggestions for other riffs. And just looking over here. Hey, Mike, how's it going, buddy? Love this riff. So yeah, so iconic and beautiful for sure. And Frusciante is, I don't want to say he's underrated. I don't want to say he's underrated because he is definitely regarded as a really great guitar player, but I don't think people know how good of a guitar player he is. I remember there was it was an issue of Rolling Stone. I can't remember. It might be like Guitar World magazine, but there was John Mayer, John Frusciante, and Derek Trucks, the three of them. And it was this video. There was this interview of like that. They were all playing and jamming. Holy smokes! All three of them are unbelievable. So I would check that out. Yeah, Frusciante's a really good guitar player, good singer too. I never realized that was two guitar parts. It makes so much more sense. Yes, and a lot of people don't realize that that's two guitar parts. So many tracks that you listen to and that you've attempted on guitar are two or more guitar tracks. And so you're trying to replicate something that was never even played by one person. Be careful out there. When you look at the tabs, just because it says that it is, it's two notes at once, that could be two guitars that represented that. So just be careful, because you might be creating roadblocks and speed bumps for yourself and not even realize it. And it's all because of you're taking a face value approach. So instead of trying to match your current skill level to the level of the riff, match the riff to your current skill level. That's how you play from day one. All right, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.